Research is what drives public policy. So we definitely need research, and we need like a concerted effort, whether that's the people who are actually grinding through the writing and the research and the data analysis, or just people who are willing to contribute and fund those efforts, especially because we have a big team of students who are receiving scholarships to do this on top of being in school. Chiropractic school is a wonderful experience, but it's definitely also very demanding. And so it's quite impressive that we have students in a lot of different institutions who are willing to dedicate extra time to making this effort. So we need that concerted effort. That's like first and foremost, like putting aside things like disagreements about technique or approach or anything like that. We just need a consistent effort. And that consistent effort also needs to come with consistent terminology. So we see a lot of literature out there. I've been using the term subluxation a lot. And some of you may be very unfamiliar with that term because some people choose to use alternate terms to that. So we need consistency in the lexicon as far as the words that we're choosing to use to describe what chiropractors do and what we manage, what we address, and what our primary health concern is. And then the next step is to establish, as I said before, is this entity something that exists? So a common analogy to that is dentistry and this concept of like, you have to brush your teeth every day and you have to get your teeth cleaned and you have a dentist check for cavities. And no one's really like, oh, but like, does anyone even get cavities? Like, are cavities even like a problem? Like, do cavities actually cause problems, or are they okay? Right? Those questions have been eliminated from general conversation. And we kind of need that in chiropractic as well. And so that term, subluxation, like it's a real thing, it's a real entity, it can be measured. We need agreement on how we measure it. What are some of the tools that we can use to measure the subluxation? And then we need to establish that most people are going to experience subluxation in their lifetime, and it would benefit them to have those subluxations corrected or reduced through chiropractic care. That's really kind of the overarching heart of the research that we're working on at the foundation. And my thesis project in particular, I had the good fortune of having a group of chiropractic offices donate their data to me. So all of their patient records for a period of time with thousands of patients that we were able to filter through and get a sense of like age and where they live around the world, and say like, well, this is what people have, and this is the percentage of people who are subluxated based on both biomechanical indicators like misalignment measured on an x-ray, to simply say, as well as neurological indicators. So whatever it is that you're measuring, like the leg length inequality, or like a Fukuda step test. And there's a ton of measurements that students will learn when they're in school, but to be sure that you're using some of them so that you're capturing both pieces, because it's not just a misalignment. It's not just like a bone that's stuck out of place. There's some type of impact that impacts the nervous system. And then like tying that to just the generally accepted understanding that our brain, our central nervous system, controls everything that's going on in the body. And so I had the good fortune of being able to analyze this big data set. It allowed me to work with numbers and have less regret for all of the math classes I took as an engineering major. And so I was able to kind of calculate prevalence rates. And we saw that, regardless of where you looked or what age group you looked at, you were seeing, a large percentage of the population was subluxated at that time. And that's just one little snapshot of, a handful of clinics. But if we were able to compile all the data from like every chiropractor in the world, I think that those numbers would be staggering. And no one could make an argument for the fact that it's not necessary to do regular spinal screenings and take care of people. And especially if we were looking at developing spines and all of the, things that happen to the body over the years. And, speaking to, you mentioned your South Korean patients, and I'm of South Korean descent, my family's South Korean. And South Korea and Japan are the two countries in the world where They're expected to reach a life expectancy of over 100 years, particularly for females at this time. Like that's the projection. And there's, good and bad that comes societally with that, but that's really impressive. And so looking at like overall health, wellness, well-being, utilization rates of different types of like modes of healthcare or different lifestyles, different diets, like I think there's a lot of valuable information to be gained in that, and then thinking about like how to incorporate chiropractic into that in
Mhm.
South Korea and elsewhere, especially if you're looking to maybe be in practice outside the U.S., where chiropractic's generally less prevalent than here. I think that's all like really valuable information that people could use to expand like their own reach as a future chiropractor.